Hi, I'm Nito, and this is a follow-up video slash update video to what's been going on with my family. As you know by now that my wife and I have faded from the organization. We've been faded for almost 10 years, about 10 years, probably more now. And we've been cast out by her family. My family's been worldly, so we've been in contact. But my wife's family, they're hardliners, devout Jehovah's Witnesses. They have shut us out for the last 10 years. They would call once or twice a year to see how my wife's doing, to see if she's even alive. And recently we had a baby in February 17th. Bear with me, it's 3 in the morning and I'm at work. But it's quiet and there's no one here. But I'm nervous. So we when we had this baby, my brother, we were real close, and he suggested that I don't deny the grandparents and my child access to each other, to not make that decision for my baby, for him, to not make that decision for him. That way, that would reduce the chances of him resenting us for denying him that. So my wife and I struggled with that, and we debated it for weeks. We eventually decided, as hard as it would be to have them over, to just be civil and give them the opportunity for them to meet my little guy. So I called my father-in-law and asked them if they would like to come meet the little guy. And he says, yeah, they sounded happy that they were going to meet their grandson. But they say, we can't come this weekend. This was back in February. We can't come this weekend. We're going to Disney. Disney, we're in Florida. Disney's not far for either one of us. We live hours apart, but Disney's like in between us. So they said they're going to Disney. Fine, go to Disney. They'll come see us the following week. So the following week comes, and they arrive, and they say, we can only stay a few hours because hotels around here are expensive. We don't want to spend the money on a hotel. So we're just going to hang out for a few hours and leave. So spend the money on Disney, but don't spend the money on us. Fine, that's fine. That's okay. So they spend the day. We cook for them. I grill burgers for them. I have them over, and they meet the kid, and they feed them, and they look at our house and all the improvements we've made and all the updates we've made, and it was civil. It was a civil 4 or 5 hours they spent with us. They go about their way, and later that evening, the father calls me back. He says, "Hey, I can't get a hold of my daughter. She's not answering the phone. What's the deal?" And I said, "You're probably blocked. She's blocked you." He says, "Well, I figured that much." I said, "Well, why did you ask if you knew that much?" He says he's trying to comprehend why he's blocked. And I told him, well, maybe it's because it's the last 10 years that you've shut her out, and you only call you call, maybe text once or twice a year. And she's done with the mind games. She's done with the mind games. That's all I could say, all I said to him. He says, well, I don't understand. We spent the last day, and it was very civil. I thought she would unblock us. Can you have her unblock us? I said, that's her decision. I said, that's up to her. I can't. So then he decides to attack my status as a man, saying, you're the man of the house. I thought you were the man of the house. You need to have her. You need to have her unblock us so we can speak to her. And I told him, look, whoever the head of the household is, that's our decision. My household works efficiently and orderly, which is more than I can say about your household. Because these people, for as long as I've known them, they take a separate car to the Kingdom Hall or anywhere else they go. They take a separate vehicle because one can't coordinate with the next person. The wife has to do laundry before the meeting, or whatever. they each take a vehicle. They take 2 or 3 cars, depending on how many people are in the household. So he's attacking my household and how I run my house, our house. Um, I mean, we're a partnership, like a true partnership. He decides that he wants to attack that. First of all, it's none of your business. And I'm coming off on a tangent here. But he starts off by attacking our household, how our household runs. As I say, look, if she wants to unblock you, that's something you're going to have to earn. He says, so what is it? So it's got to be on her terms. And I after all of this time and after all that we've been through, who comes up with this? That whose terms things have to be on? The last 10 years have been on your terms. Why are you worried about whose term this is? It falls on now. If she wants to keep you blocked, that's her business. I'm happy that she's blocked you people. So I'm losing my train of thought. I start to explain to him the damage that he's caused on this phone call. That he's caused depression. He causes stress, and we have no idea how to proceed with life. I mean, we do. We've moved on. But as far as they do, I've spent the last 10 years worrying about these people and hoping they'll come over. And when I mow the lawn, I look at the corner down the street and I hope to see their car. Well, at least for a while, not anymore, but for a long time, I hoped that they would round the corner and come see their daughter. And when I explained this to him, he says, well, all of these years, I hoped that you'd go to the hall, that you'd come back. You say that we've hurt you, but you've hurt us too. And I retorted by saying, our not going to the hall is a personal decision. What you've done, you've consciously cut us out of your life. That affects people. And he kept insisting that our decision affected them too, which it doesn't. And I asked him, how does us not going to the hall anymore affect your spirituality? How does it affect your relationship with Jehovah? How does it affect your standing in the kingdom hall? How does it affect your attendance? And he's adamantly says, I would never let that happen. So, okay, good. So now you've confirmed that it doesn't affect you. Why are you doing this? Why do you continue to cast your daughter out? I don't care so much about me, but why do you cast your daughter out? He says he just kept going in circles, this circular logic that I lost my train of thought again. He made it. He just kept insisting that we're living in the past. Literally, he said that why are we still living in the past? He kept insisting that we should move on, that we should look to the future, and not dwell on the past. And I told him this may have started in the past, but it only stopped. You only showed up a few days ago. This never ended. This is not living in the past. So he wasn't having that either, and I just kept bringing things up, things that were on my chest, the things that I dwelled on for the last 10 years, and I was seeking closure with having them over, whether it was for the good or the bad. I wanted to have them over for the closure. I needed this closure because I just kind of expected them to have some humanity left and say, let's fix this. Instead, my father-in-law decides to just defend himself and insist that we're the problem. We're living in the past. Why are we so sensitive? Just get over it. And finally, he said, excuse me. Finally, he decides to say, so it's an apology you want. Before I can answer, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, all right? It was like hearing a teenager give an empty apology after being caught doing something silly. I'm sorry, okay? And that's literally how he apologized to us. And in the same sentence, he says, "But remember that it's you guys that turned your back on Jehovah, so you caused all of this." So this is how his apology went.
Anyway, I just want to say that I'm sorry. I lost my temper, and I probably shouldn't have. I took it out on you, and look, if I've caused you any problems as a result of my behavior, well then, I'm sorry. I apologize. Even though you know, Barry, between me and you, we both know that you started it. I mean, who's kidding who? But they tell me that you're very upset, and God forbid I should disturb the very important monkey. I'm just hoping we can put this behind us. Let's just move on with our lives, okay? So no hard feelings?
And that's how it went down. And I'm just, boy, I was looking for a closure, and I got it. And I feel more at ease that they can do whatever the hell they want. I left it in their court saying, look, even with all of this, even with all of that was said, you are more than welcome to come by and see your grandson. I want you to be part of his life. I want him to know you, and I want you to know him. And I told him, I hope you have the intestinal fortitude to patch things up with your daughter. And I continued. I said, you guys spent that day at my house together. I would deliberately walk out of the house and walk away from them so you guys can have alone time. And you didn't say anything about anything. And he defended himself again, saying, I wanted to keep things civil. But you know what? You could have discussed the last 10 years, whether you think it's your fault or not. You could have discussed it civilly and said, I'm sorry or not sorry. This is what we did it for, because we're instructed to, because we wanted to, whatever the case is. You could have just kept it civil. And he could have just kept it civil. And he could have just said that, and that would have been fine. But they didn't say anything. They only said something when they realized that they were still blocked on the phone, and they demanded that the daughter unblock them. And I just kept trying to make them realize what they've done, what they continue to do, because they haven't called back since. It's been since February. We're in April. It was about a month ago to the day, because it was a few days after Valentine's Day that they came over. So, yeah, it's been about a month, almost a perfect month, since they've been to my house. And haven't heard a peep. And her brother, my brother-in-law, would call regularly. He was better than all of them, because he actually made contact with us years ago, but he had to ask for authorization. He had to ask for permission from the elders to ask. He asked them if he can talk to us again. And since we're not disfellowshipped, we haven't done anything wrong. Our only sin is to go to college. To go to college and improve we were destitute. Our diet was rice and baked beans and a tomato. I mean, this is no lie. I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at work for a better part of 5-7 years. I eat it now, but for a long time I wouldn't have it anymore. I had it, enough of that. But the brother, as good as he was, he still had to ask permission to talk to his own sister, who's not disfellowshipped. Her only sin is to go to school and better ourselves. And we're not wealthy, but we're a lot better off than we were. We were living hand to mouth with $5 or $10 between paychecks. It was a sad time, and that's our sin. That's our unforgivable sin, is to improve our situation. But the brother sensed that since they came over and we had the discussion on the phone, even the brother now is starting to tone back. He hadn't called for a good part of a month. He only called her once last week. That's a good 3 weeks, roughly, since since they've been here. And I think they got to him, and he's one of them. He's one of them. He doesn't realize it yet, but he's a mirror. He's a carbon copy of those two. And the mother, as bad as the father-in-law is, the mother is worse because she hasn't called at all in those 10 years, and she hasn't called after. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by this whole situation. From the whole, oh, and as we're discussing this situation, one of the last things he told me before hanging up was, I really thought you would be more excited to get to talk to us again. That's what he thinks of himself. He really thought. He said, boy, I really thought you'd be more excited to be able to talk to us again. And I said, I didn't think it was that great of a privilege. And he apologizes. He says, I'm sorry you feel that way. And he's always, for as long as I've known him, he's always used that non-apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. And I told him, look, man, don't give me that non-apology. Don't apologize for my feelings. Apologize for what you do. And don't even apologize for what you do. You don't have to apologize. I don't need an apology. Just don't do it. But anyways, I left the ball in their court. One of the last things I asked him was, are you going to come over again? And he hemmed and hawed. Yeah. He said something to the effect of, that when I asked him to, can we try to work on our relationship? He says, yes, we'll work on that. But here's where he throws the monkey wrench into the he preemptively sabotaged the whole situation by saying, we can't have the same relationship we had before because you don't go to the hall. We can't speak about spiritual things. We can't talk about spiritual things or things from the hall or conventions. And I told him, I've never brought up anything spiritual to you. I've never discussed anything spiritual with you. The only times that it was brought up is when you brought up spiritual things. You bring these things up. I've always talked to you about work. I've only talked to you ever about cars and boats and anything, but I've never brought anything spiritual up to you. And that went in one ear out the other, like everything else I said. But he preemptively sabotaged the situation by saying, we can never have the same relationship. Right there, those words right there, just sabotaged the whole thing. It just ruined any prospect of a sincere relationship. He made sure to say that. He made sure to say, we can never have the same relationship, which is absurd because we're not disfellowshipped. You can still talk to us. You can still have a relationship. You can keep it distant, I guess, if you wanted to, but there's no reason for it. I've never spoken till now. Till now, I've never spoken bad about that organization. I've never discouraged them from going. I, as a matter of fact, when we spoke, I told them, keep going. If that's what makes you happy, keep going. If that's what they need, go. I don't care. And I did tell them. I said, but seeing what you've done to your daughter and what the expectation is, I will never go back to that organization because I will never turn my back on my child. I will never do that. And he didn't like that. He didn't like that one bit. I don't care. I really don't care. There was other things that we talked about. I told him that, deserting us over the last decade, we went through some hard times. I didn't have a father. I didn't learn much of anything as far as like house maintenance. Everything I know I had to learn for myself. And I kind of just slipped. I said, look, it's like and I've been injured at work. I don't know if I mentioned in the last video. I've been injured at work, and we really needed their help at times. We went through some dark times. And it's going on 20 minutes. Sorry. We went through some dark times, and I told them, we've asked you for help. And it's like we're on our own. It's always been like we're on our own. And he interrupted me. He says, "Of course you're on your own. You're adults." I said, "Well, that's great." And so a family member needs help, but they're adults. To hell with them, right? That's good to know. That's good to know. You know, that explains my uncle-in-law. The guy runs off to Armenia, leaves his little girls behind and his wife behind to meet some other person, some other random woman. But that guy was an elder too. He's got the whole family convinced that he's a saint. And yeah, the little girls are adults now, so they're on their own, I guess, right? But this uncle-in-law is an elder, or was an elder for a long time, and he's had some things that I found questionable. I'll get into that some other time if you want to hear about it. But he's in Armenia now with some supposed witness girl, and he could be doing God knows what over there, and they'll just believe whatever he tells them. Anyways, I'm on a rant. I'm on several tangents. If you're still with me, I appreciate you listening to me. I'm hoping to get more comfortable in front of the camera. I don't have a script. I just have 4 sentences of notes here. But I hope to do better. I'd like to make more videos. Let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe, like. Thank you. Good night.